The first time Lieutenant Jason Cole saw her, the world around him seemed to fall silent. The landing site on Varela 9 was alive with voices, machines, and lights. The air shimmered with heat from the twin suns, and the ground glowed faintly with dust that reflected every color of the sky. But Jason wasn't looking at the landscape. He was staring at her, the alien girl who stood among her people, silent and still, as if afraid to breathe. The Varelians were not what humanity had expected. They weren't monstrous or strange. They were tall, graceful, and hauntingly beautiful, skin smooth and faintly luminous like moonlight on water. Their eyes were liquid silver, calm and deep, holding reflections that seemed to see through time itself. And yet, even among them, she stood out. She was smaller than the others, her glow softer, her movements uncertain. She clutched a crystal tablet to her chest, watching the humans with wide eyes. When Jason's gaze met hers, something unexpected happened. Her blue-tinted skin suddenly flared crimson. Not a faint blush, not a flicker of light. It spread like a wave across her cheeks, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. She froze as if caught doing something forbidden. Then she looked away sharply, her hands trembling. Jason blinked in surprise. The translators in his earpiece whispered that the color shift was unusual. But he didn't care about the science. There was something human about that moment. Something shy, something fragile. He smiled a little, not wanting to frighten her, but she only turned farther away. That night, as the human camp settled under the alien stars, Jason couldn't stop thinking about her. The mission logs were full of data, mineral reports, atmospheric scans, linguistic samples, but none of that stayed in his mind. Only her face did. That strange, beautiful blush. He tried to be rational. Maybe it was some biological reaction. Maybe her species changed color with temperature or emotion. But deep inside, Jason couldn't shake the thought that it meant something personal. The next morning, the humans were officially introduced to the Varelian Council. The meeting hall was vast, white stone arches that seemed to hum with energy. When the delegation entered, Jason saw her again. She stood behind one of the elders, holding a translation device. Her eyes flicked toward him for only a second, but it was enough. Her face flushed crimson again. He almost laughed. It was like watching someone embarrassed by a secret they didn't want to share. When the session ended, he found her outside, alone by the luminous gardens that surrounded the hall. She was touching one of the glowing plants, her fingers trailing softly along its petals. Jason approached quietly, careful not to startle her. "Hey," he said gently. "You're part of the council team, right?" "I'm Lieutenant Jason Cole." She turned, startled, and there it was again. That flash of red across her cheeks. "I am Lyra," she said softly, her voice musical and a little shaky. Her translator device echoed her words in English, but Jason could hear the melody in her real voice, like the sound of wind through glass. "Lyra," he repeated, smiling. "That's a beautiful name." She looked down quickly. "It is old," she said, almost whispering. "Not used anymore." Jason nodded, sensing her nervousness. "Well, it suits you." Her hands tightened around her crystal tablet. "Humans speak with warmth," she murmured. "It is difficult to stand close." "Too loud?" he asked, confused. "Too alive," she replied. Jason didn't understand, but the way she said it made his chest ache. There was something lonely in her tone, as if she'd spent her life surrounded by people, yet never truly seen by them. He wanted to ask more, but she took a step back, her face glowing crimson again. "I must go," she said quickly and walked away. Jason watched her disappear among the glowing trees, her silhouette fading into the light. That night, while writing his daily report, he found himself staring at the empty page. His hands hovered over the keys, but all he could type was a single line. "The Varelians are strange, but one of them feels more human than any of us." He sat back, feeling something stir inside him. Curiosity, warmth, maybe even awe. He didn't know it then, but that first glance, that first strange crimson glow, was the start of something that would change both of their worlds, because sometimes, in the silence between stars, the heart recognizes something the mind cannot explain. And on that alien world, Jason Cole had just seen it, in the face of a girl who blushed every time he looked at her. The next few days passed like quiet ripples in a calm sea. The human base had settled into routine, data collection, translations, and reports back to orbit. But for Jason, every day began and ended with one name in his mind: Lyra. He saw her often now. She had been assigned as one of the communication liaisons between the Varelians and the Earth crew. Her job was to help translate languages, gestures, and even emotions between both sides. Jason, being a linguist himself, was told to assist her in learning the subtleties of human speech and tone. It was supposed to be work. Just work. But it didn't feel like that. Lyra always sat across from him at the long silver table, surrounded by screens and glowing crystals. Her hands moved gracefully as she typed symbols into her tablet. Yet every time Jason spoke directly to her, something changed in the air. She would freeze, her silver eyes widening, and then that crimson blush would bloom across her cheeks again. At first, Jason found it endearing, but as it kept happening, he began to worry. "Lyra," he said one afternoon, leaning slightly toward her, "does it hurt when that happens? When your face turns red?" She blinked in surprise, and "No, it does not hurt," she said softly. "It is only difficult." "Difficult?" Jason tilted his head. Her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her tablet. "When I am near you, my body reacts. Our kind does not handle strong emotions well." Jason chuckled awkwardly. "Am I making you emotional?" Her eyes flickered to him, and for a moment something in them glowed brighter than the rest of her face. "Yes," she whispered. The word hit him harder than he expected. It wasn't teasing or shy, it was honest, raw, and almost frightened. He wanted to say something comforting, but before he could, she stood and turned away, pretending to study the holographic display on the wall. "We should continue our lesson," she said quickly. Jason sighed and nodded, but inside his heart beat faster. In the evenings, the human camp dimmed its lights to conserve energy. Outside, Varella's twin moons floated above the horizon, one blue, one silver, casting a soft glow over the alien forest. Jason often stayed up late reviewing communication logs. That was when he began to notice small things. Sometimes, he would find messages left open on the shared database, short recordings in Lyra's voice, half-finished translations of human phrases. One of them said softly, "To look at someone and feel warmth. Humans call this affection." Another read, "When one's heart beats faster at another's presence, this is attraction. Dangerous emotion." He didn't know if she meant for him to see those, but he couldn't ignore them anymore. The next day, Lyra arrived earlier than usual. She seemed tense, her glow dimmer. Jason decided to lighten the mood. "Good morning, Lyra. How's the most brilliant translator on Varela doing today?" he joked. She stared at him blankly for a second, and then her face went crimson again. "You use too many compliments," she murmured. "It makes my thoughts unstable." Jason laughed gently. "Maybe that's a good thing." "You could use a little chaos," Lyra frowned as if she didn't understand the joke. "Chaos destroys balance," she said quietly. "Sometimes," Jason replied softly, "chaos brings life." For a moment their eyes met, and neither looked away. The silence stretched between them like a fragile bridge. Her hands trembled slightly, and Jason felt something he couldn't name. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was care. When their supervisor called for a report, the moment broke. Lyra stood quickly, her crimson blush fading to pale blue again. "You are strange human," she whispered before walking off. Jason smiled to himself. "Yeah," he murmured. "I've been told that before." That night, Jason couldn't sleep. He stepped outside the camp into the open air where alien trees swayed under the moon's light. And there she was again. Lyra standing alone near the glowing stream, her reflection trembling in the water. Jason approached quietly. "Lyra," he called gently. She turned, startled, then smiled faintly. "You should not be out here, Lieutenant. The night air is unstable for your lungs." "I'll take my chances," he said softly. "I wanted to see you." Her expression flickered between fear and something else, something tender. "You make it hard to breathe," she said, her voice trembling. Jason stepped closer, his heart thudding. "Then why keep coming near me?" Her eyes shimmered. "Because when I walk away, it hurts even more." The wind whispered through the alien leaves. Jason stood there speechless. He didn't know what kind of love could bloom between two beings from different worlds. But in that moment, he understood one thing clearly. Connection wasn't bound by species or language. It was something older, something deeper. And as Lyra's crimson glow reflected off the water, Jason realized he was already falling for her, even if the universe would never allow it. The next morning, the camp was silent except for the hum of machines and the soft clicking of scanners. The humans were busy testing the strange crystals they had collected from Virella's surface. Those crystals, it turned out, could store memory, not just words, but feelings too. They called them neural crystals, and they were unlike anything Earth had ever seen. Jason stood in the lab, staring at one of them glowing faintly on the table. "They react to emotion," said Dr. Hensley, the chief scientist. "That's how the Virelians communicate without words. These things hold fragments of their thoughts." Jason's mind drifted immediately to Lyra, her emotions, her blushing, her trembling voice. Was it all connected to these crystals somehow? Later that evening, he found her in the observation chamber, standing alone beside the transparent wall that overlooked the glowing valley below. The room was quiet, filled only with the low hum of energy fields. "Lyra," he said softly as he entered. She turned around, startled. Her hands quickly hid something behind her back, a small crystal tablet glowing softly in red. And yes, her face flushed crimson again the moment their eyes met. Jason raised his hands gently. "It's okay. I didn't mean to scare you." She hesitated, her voice trembling. "You shouldn't be here. This place is for emotional calibration." "It is private," Jason nodded. "Then why are you crying?" Her eyes widened in shock. "Crying?" He stepped closer. Tiny glowing drops clung to her cheeks. Not tears of water, but bright liquid light like stars sliding down her skin. "Lyra," Jason whispered. "What's happening to you?" She looked away, clutching her tablet tighter. "You would not understand. Humans are lighter creatures. You feel and forget. We do not." "Try me," Jason said gently. Lyra took a deep breath. Her voice was fragile, almost breaking. "When you came here, I was assigned to study you. Your sounds, your emotions, your heart. But the more I watched, the more my core began to change. Every time you spoke to me, my body reacted. My color shifted. My heart lost rhythm. I thought it was a malfunction." Jason's heart pounded. "And now?" She lowered her head. "Now I know it is not malfunction. It is emotion. But for my kind, emotion is not safe." She turned the crystal tablet in her hands. Inside it flickered a recording, a faint echo of Jason's laughter from their earlier lessons. He recognized his own voice instantly. "You recorded me?" he asked softly. Her hands trembled. "It stabilizes me," she whispered. "When I hear your voice, my mind settles. Without it, I lose control." Jason took a small step closer, stunned. He wanted to say something, but words failed him. The air between them was heavy with something both fragile and powerful. "You said humans forget," he finally said. "But I won't forget this." Lyra's eyes shimmered, silver and wet with light. "You should. My people don't understand emotions like yours. We were never meant to feel them. They say love burns the mind and that it can destroy our inner balance. If the council finds out what's happening to me..." She stopped, her voice trembling. "What would they do?" Jason asked carefully. "They would erase the emotion," she said softly. "They can purge the memory crystal inside me, remove all the feelings before they consume me. I would forget everything, even you." Jason felt something twist painfully inside his chest. The idea of her losing their moments, their laughter, her gentle voice, the way her face lit crimson whenever he looked at her. It was unbearable. He reached out, almost instinctively, his hand brushing hers. The contact sent a faint spark of light between their skin. Lyra gasped, her eyes wide. "You shouldn't touch me," she whispered. "Our energies are not meant to merge." "Maybe they are," Jason said quietly. "Maybe they were always meant to." She stared at him for a long, silent moment. Then her shoulders trembled and she whispered, "You do not understand what you are doing to me, Jason Cole. You are teaching me what it means to feel, and I am afraid of it." Jason's voice softened. "Don't be afraid of feeling, Lyra. That's what makes us alive." Her lips parted as if she wanted to believe him. But instead she turned away and said faintly, "For you it gives life. For me, it could take it." The words sank into him like cold water. Jason stood there, silent, watching her as the crimson glow on her face flickered between red and gold. For the first time he realized how fragile she was, not just physically, but in the deepest part of her being. He wanted to protect her, but how do you protect someone from their own heart? Outside, the twin moons rose higher, casting silver light across the glass walls. Inside, two beings stood close, human and alien, heart and reason, separated by fear and fate. And yet between them, the first true bridge of love had already begun to shine. The next day dawned quietly over Varela 9. Soft light poured across the camp, touching everything in shades of silver and gold. Jason didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Lyra's trembling voice, the red glow, her words echoing in his head. If the council finds out, they'll erase everything. Even you. He couldn't let that happen. When morning came, he went straight to the research wing. Dr. Hensley and a few scientists were studying Varelian biology again, mapping their neural structures. Jason joined them quietly, pretending to take notes. But his real goal was simple: to find out more about what was happening to Lyra. It didn't take long for him to hear something that made his blood run cold. One of the scientists explained, "The Varelians are an emotionally fragile species. They evolved to suppress deep feelings. When they experience strong emotion, love, grief, fear, their neural cores can overload. It's like an emotional storm inside them." "Overload?" Jason repeated, frowning. "Yes," the scientist nodded. "It can damage them permanently. Their bodies start glowing red because of internal heat buildup. If it's not stopped, the energy collapses their system. They call it burning bright." Jason's heart sank. Burning bright? He remembered Lyra's words, "and it could take my life." So it was true. Her emotions, her feelings toward him were literally killing her. That evening he found Lyra again. She was standing near the communication tower, her eyes lifted toward the stars. Her skin glowed faintly, crimson at the edges, like the beginning of a fire that wouldn't go out. "Lyra," Jason called softly. She turned around, her expression weary. "You should not come near me." "I know," he said, stepping closer anyway. "But I can't just stay away knowing what I know." Her lips parted slightly. "What do you know?" Jason hesitated. Then he said, "About the burning bright. About what happens when your kind feels too much." Lyra's eyes widened in shock. She looked away immediately, her voice breaking. "They told you." "I had to know," Jason said gently. "You're not just my translator anymore, Lyra, you're my friend." Her breath caught. "Friend?" he nodded. "Maybe more than that, but let's start with friend." For a long moment she said nothing. Then softly she asked, "Do you understand now why I tried to stay away?" "Yes," Jason replied quietly. "But I still don't want to lose you." Lyra smiled faintly, though her eyes shimmered with sadness. "Humans chase the things that hurt them. You run toward danger with open arms." "Maybe," Jason said, smiling back. "But sometimes danger is worth it." A soft breeze passed through the camp, stirring the light around them. The stars shimmered above like distant eyes watching their secret meeting. "Lyra," Jason said, "can't we stop it? Can't you control it somehow?" She shook her head slowly. "It's too strong now. My core reacts every time I see you, every time I hear your voice." She looked at him, her silver eyes trembling, full of fear and longing. "When I am near you, my thoughts scatter. When I am far, I ache. How do humans live like this?" Jason stepped closer. "We live through it. We love, we hurt, and we keep going." Her crimson glow brightened at his words. "You speak of love so easily," she whispered. "But for me, it's like standing in fire." He wanted to reach for her, to tell her that she didn't have to face it alone. But before he could, the alarm lights of the camp flashed. A call came through from the Varelian Council. They were requesting Lyra's presence. Her face went pale blue. "They know," she whispered in fear. "They can feel my instability. They will test my mind." Jason grabbed her hand without thinking. "Then I'll come with you." She shook her head quickly. "No, they will not allow it. They'll know it's because of you." "Lyra, please," she said desperately, her voice breaking. "If you care for me, stay away tonight." Jason froze, his heart heavy. She looked at him one last time before turning away, her crimson light fading into the dark. That night he couldn't rest. The sky above Varela was alive with lightning, silver and red streaks dancing across the horizon. Jason stood outside the camp, staring toward the distant city where Lyra had gone. He didn't know what the council would do to her, but he knew one thing. She wasn't just another alien anymore. She was a person who had taught him something more powerful than science, something older than any star. The human heart wasn't unique to Earth. It could live and break anywhere in the universe. He whispered her name into the wind. Lyra. And in the distance, faintly glowing under the storm, a small crimson light flickered, as if calling back. The next morning felt colder, even though Varella's twin suns burned bright as ever. Jason stood outside the human camp, his eyes fixed on the distant city towers that shimmered like glass mountains. Somewhere in there, Lyra was facing the Varelian Council, alone. He hadn't heard from her since last night. No messages, no signals, nothing. The silence gnawed at him like a weight pressing on his chest. He couldn't sit still anymore. When Dr. Hensley called him for another translation session, Jason barely listened. His mind was miles away, replaying Lyra's words again and again. They'll test my mind. If you care for me, stay away tonight. He slammed his datapad shut. Doctor, I need to leave for a while, he said. Hensley frowned. Leave? The council forbids unapproved travel to their city. Jason hesitated, then replied quietly. Then I guess this isn't official. The journey to the Varelian city took hours on foot. The path wound through glowing forests and quiet plains where crystal flowers pulsed faint light with every breeze. Jason moved quickly, ignoring the ache in his legs. He didn't care about the rules anymore. He just needed to see her, to make sure she was safe. When he finally reached the outer gates, two tall guards stopped him. Their silver eyes were calm, emotionless. Human entry is restricted, one said flatly. Jason took a deep breath. Please, I'm looking for Lyra. She's my translator. She's in trouble. The guards didn't move. One of them raised a hand. You are not permitted here. Return to your settlement. Jason clenched his fists. Listen, he said firmly. If you erase her memories, if you take away what she feels, you'll destroy her. Don't you see that? The guard stared at him blankly. To them, emotion wasn't a gift, it was weakness. They couldn't understand what he was saying. But before they could push him away, a voice came from behind them. Let him in. Jason froze. The speaker was an older Varelian, his glow dim and steady, his robe lined with soft silver. You're the human who's been with Lyra, the elder said calmly. Come, she asked for you. Jason followed him through long halls of crystal light. The walls pulsed faintly with emotion. Whispers of memory locked inside them. The elder led him to a small chamber, circular and silent. Lyra sat in the center. Her glow was faint, her color shifting weakly between pale blue and red. The neural cables connected to her temples glimmered softly, feeding data into a hovering crystal orb above her head. Her eyes were closed. Lyra. Jason rushed forward, but the elder stopped him. She is undergoing calibration, the elder said. Her emotions have reached instability. We are trying to restore balance. Jason turned to him, anger rising in his chest. You mean you're erasing her? The elder sighed softly. We are saving her. You do not understand. When a Varelian's emotions grow too strong, their energy burns them from within. She would not survive much longer. Jason looked at Lyra's fragile form, his throat tightening. She would rather feel and die than forget and live empty. The elder tilted his head. Strange words, human. You speak as though pain is a treasure. Sometimes it is, Jason said quietly, because it means we're alive. For a long moment, the elder said nothing. Then he nodded slightly. She has changed since meeting you. Perhaps we have much to learn. He turned toward the door. Do what you must. But be quick. If her energy collapses, we will have no choice. Jason knelt beside her, taking her cold hand into his. Lyra, it's me. I'm here. Her eyelids fluttered open slowly. Her voice was faint, trembling. Jason, you shouldn't have come. I had to, he whispered. I can't let them take you from me. She gave a weak smile. You always speak like a hero. He squeezed her hand gently. Only because you make me want to be one. Her crimson glow flickered faintly like a heartbeat returning. Tears of light formed at the corners of her eyes. They tried to erase it, she said softly. The feeling I have for you, but it resisted. I resisted. I can't let you go from my mind. Jason leaned closer, his voice shaking. Then don't. Hold on to it. Hold on to me. Her hand trembled in his. It hurts, she whispered. But your voice, it makes it calm. Jason smiled sadly. Then I'll never stop talking. For a long moment, they just stayed there, hand in hand, surrounded by silence and soft light. The crimson glow around her face brightened again, but this time it didn't burn. It pulsed slowly, gently, like the rhythm of a heartbeat finding peace. When the elder returned, he found them still together. Lyra's energy had stabilized. The dangerous surge had passed. He looked at Jason with quiet respect. Your presence altered her resonance. You calmed her through connection. We did not think it possible. Jason looked up. Maybe emotion isn't something to erase. Maybe it's something to guide. The elder nodded slowly. Perhaps the human heart has lessons for us all. Jason smiled faintly and looked back at Lyra. Her silver eyes opened fully, clear and alive once more. In that moment, she wasn't just an alien or a translator. She was someone who had chosen to feel, even when it could destroy her. And Jason knew he'd do anything to protect that courage. The next day, the sky over Varela blazed with soft pink light as dawn broke between the twin suns. The air shimmered, gentle and quiet. Jason sat outside the medical dome, his mind still replaying the moment when Lyra had opened her eyes again. He hadn't slept all night. He couldn't stop thinking about her, about the way she had fought her own kind system just to hold on to a feeling. That kind of courage, it was something even most humans didn't have. He looked toward the open field beyond the camp. The tall glowing grass swayed like ocean waves. Somewhere out there, Lyra was resting, recovering from the procedure. When she finally stepped out from the dome, Jason's breath caught in his throat. She looked different. Her glow had softened, no longer flickering wildly between colors. It pulsed gently, steady like the calm after a storm. Her silver eyes carried warmth now, a kind of peace he hadn't seen before. Hey, Jason said softly. You're walking again. Lyra smiled faintly. Your words stayed with me, even while they tried to clear my memories. He tilted his head. You remember everything? She stepped closer, her expression quiet but firm. Everything. Every word you said. Every time you looked at me. Jason's chest tightened. That's good. I was afraid that I'd forget you, she interrupted gently. Jason, I couldn't, no matter what they did. Her voice trembled slightly and her glow brightened to a deep crimson again, painting her cheeks like firelight. He smiled softly. You're glowing again, she gave a weak laugh. It happens when I feel too much. Jason looked at her carefully, seeing the emotion she tried to hide behind calm words. Lyra, what did they do to you in there? She hesitated for a long time before answering. They didn't just test me. They made me choose. Choose what? Between my duty and my heart. Jason's breath stilled. They said if I wanted to stay in the exchange program, I had to remove all emotional influence from humans, to prove I was loyal to my people. Her voice cracked softly. I told them no. He stared at her in disbelief. You refused the council? She nodded. Yes, and now I'm forbidden to serve as a translator. They said I'm corrupted. Jason stepped forward instinctively. Lyra, I'm so sorry. She shook her head slowly. Don't be. I don't regret it. I would rather lose my position than lose what I feel. Her words hung in the air between them, trembling with quiet intensity. Jason didn't know what to say. He just stared at her, heart pounding. Lyra took a deep breath and looked at him with eyes that seemed to see right through every wall he had built. Jason, you don't understand what that feeling is to my kind. We don't love like humans do. We don't even have a word for it. But since I met you, something changed inside me. She stepped closer. The faint hum of her energy filled the air between them. When you smiled, my glow shifted colors for the first time. When you were hurt, my pulse weakened. When you looked at me, I felt like my whole body turned to light. Jason swallowed hard. He couldn't move. He couldn't speak. I thought it was sickness, she continued softly. But it wasn't, it was you. Her voice broke, trembling with raw honesty. I don't understand how humans survive this feeling every day. It's heavy and painful, but beautiful. It burns, and yet I want more of it. Tears shone in her silver eyes. Jason, I love you. Whatever that word means for your people, that's what I feel. Jason felt his chest tighten with emotion so strong he could barely breathe. The words hit him harder than any battle or command ever had. He stepped forward slowly and reached for her hands. They were warm and trembling. Lyra, you don't know what that means to me. You're risking everything just for this. She smiled through her tears. Maybe that's what makes it worth it. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The twin suns rose higher, spilling light across the fields. The wind whispered through the glowing grass like a quiet song. Jason finally whispered, "Lyra, if your people cast you out, you'll have nowhere to go." "Then I'll go with you," she said simply. "To Earth, to anywhere. As long as you're there," he blinked, his voice breaking. "You'd leave your whole world behind." Her hand lifted to his face, fingertips glowing faint red. "You became my world." Jason closed his eyes, his forehead resting gently against hers. He could feel her warmth, her pulse, her trembling breath. For the first time, their hearts aligned, human and alien, two species from different stars, bound not by duty or science, but something deeper. The crimson glow around Lyra's face flared brighter, wrapping them both in soft red light. It wasn't dangerous now. It was alive. It pulsed in rhythm with Jason's heartbeat, as if the universe itself had finally agreed to their connection. They stood there in silence, surrounded by light and wind, two souls from different worlds learning what it meant to be more than just human, to be something new together. For a few peaceful days, life on Varela felt almost normal again. Jason and Lyra spent their time walking through the glowing fields, talking about earth, oceans, rain, and laughter. She loved to listen, always curious, always smiling softly when Jason spoke about simple human things like coffee or sunsets. But deep inside, Jason knew peace couldn't last forever. The council's silence wasn't forgiveness. It was warning. And one quiet evening, that warning came. A messenger arrived, a tall Varelian with a cold, steady voice. "Lyra of the Third Colony," he said, "you have violated council order by preserving human emotional imprinting. You are to be brought before the High Chamber for judgment." Jason stood protectively in front of her. She did nothing wrong. The guard raised a glowing staff. "Humans, stand aside. This is not your affair." Jason's voice shook. "The hell it isn't." Lyra touched his arm gently. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were wet. "Jason, it's all right. I knew this day would come." He turned toward her, desperate. "Lyra, you don't have to go with them. You can come with me. We'll take one of the shuttles. We'll run," she smiled sadly. "If I run, they'll see love as weakness forever. They'll destroy every bridge between our worlds. I can't let that happen," he shook his head. "You can't face them alone." I must," she said softly, "because someone has to show them what love really means." The next day, the great chamber of Varela was filled with cold blue light. Crystal spires rose around the circular hall, humming faintly with energy. The council sat in silence, their glowing eyes fixed on Lyra. Jason stood far behind, surrounded by guards who refused to let him closer. The high speaker's voice echoed through the air. "Lyra of the Third Colony, you have broken the law of clarity. You allowed emotional contagion to alter your resonance. Explain yourself." Lyra lifted her head, her crimson glow faint but steady. "I did what I believed was right. I felt something that made me understand life in a new way." The speaker frowned. "Emotion is chaos. It destroys balance." Lyra took a deep breath. "Then maybe balance isn't everything." Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one had ever said such words to the council before. She continued, voice trembling but brave. "Humans live with chaos every day. Fear, love, pain, and still they rise. They create. They forgive. That is not weakness. That is strength." Her crimson light grew brighter with every word. "I loved a human, yes. And that love saved me when even your machines could not. It gave me courage to face what you fear most. Feeling." The council murmured among themselves, the air thick with unease. Jason couldn't stay silent. He broke through the guards, shouting, "She's right. You call emotion chaos, but without it, you'll never understand us or yourselves." The guards grabbed him, but before they could pull him back, Lyra raised her hand. Her glow spread through the entire chamber, filling it with red and gold light. "Enough," she cried. "If I must pay for this feeling, I will. But I will not hide it." The light around her flared like a sunrise. Jason shouted her name, but his voice vanished in the brilliance. For a moment, the whole room was nothing but color, a wave of pure emotion washing over every mind present. And then, silence. When the light faded, Lyra stood weakly in the center, her glow dimming. The council members stared in stunned silence. They had felt it, her love, her pain, her hope. For the first time, they understood what it meant to feel human. The high speaker's voice came quietly. "Lyra, your energy is unstable. You will not survive this." She turned toward Jason, her eyes soft, her voice barely above a whisper. Then let my heart live in him. Jason rushed forward and caught her as she collapsed. Her body glowed faintly, warm and fragile. Lyra, stay with me, please. She smiled weakly. I told you. Love burns. But it's beautiful, isn't it? He could barely speak. Tears ran down his face. It is. You made me believe that. Her glow flickered like the last ember of a star. Then promise me, you'll keep teaching them. Tell your people we are not so different. Promise me, Jason. I promise, he whispered, voice breaking. Her hand touched his cheek one last time, warm and trembling. Then the light faded, leaving only the soft reflection of crimson on his skin. Weeks later, the council opened communication with Earth again. This time their message was different, not a demand, but a request to learn. They called it the Lyra Accord, a new beginning between two species who had finally understood the price and power of emotion. Jason stayed on Varela as the first human ambassador. At night he would stand beneath the twin suns, staring at the horizon where her glow had once filled the air. Sometimes, when the wind moved through the glowing grass, he could still see a faint red shimmer in the light, soft, pulsing, like a heartbeat. He smiled to himself. She kept her promise, he whispered, and I'll keep mine. As the suns dipped low and the alien sky burned crimson, Jason finally felt what Lyra had tried to show him, that love, even across worlds, never really ends. It only changes form, glowing forever in the hearts of those brave enough to feel it.